Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for joining us here on Instagram once again. I'm Christian LaRoche, sales manager for Waldorf Wine Group, and this is Wine Wednesday here on Instagram. Wine Wednesday, as the name implies, we do this every Wednesday. This is our way of bringing you online content for Waldorf Wine Group. We've been doing so since May of 2020, and it was our way of pivoting online to bring content to you. For those of you not familiar with us, Waldorf Wine Group, we're a small family-owned wine importing company founded back in 1993 by Andy Waldorf, still at the helm, and we import European wines, both into British Columbia and Alberta, and we have a very eclectic portfolio of producers, small family domains, co-op cellars, famous chateaus, and kind of everything in between, all sorts of different wines, price points, what have you. We've got a really cool wine tonight, and I wanted to kind of cast a bit of a spotlight on it. Oh, before we get too far, first things first, good to see our good friend David Lancelot joining us there. Good to see you, David. I'm glad you could be here. Yes, if you have not done so already, I do invite you to follow us on Instagram. Yes, you are indeed correct there. Riesling does rule. Riesling rocks, and more people should be drinking good German Riesling, that's for sure. And we can help you with that. But seriously, if you haven't done so, I do invite you to follow us on Instagram. It's a great way to keep up to date. We feature content here of wines that we currently have in the market. We talk about wines that we're going to be bringing into the market. Sometimes we'll try samples. Sometimes we talk about promos, any events, dinners, visiting winemakers, what have you going on. So yeah, check it out. And if you can, please do follow us. I'm kind of going back to the well a little bit here. One of our eclectic producers is Horst Schwaab Kiebel, based in the town of Urzig in the middle Mosel. Crazy old school Rieslings. It's a neat source. The family's been at it for a while. They've got a cellar full of old vintages at incredible prices. We're doing a 30-year-old bottle of wine. Let's flip the camera. Let's show you what we're trying. We're in the middle Mosel, and let's flip it around. Check out this old school label. Old school, and we're talking old school. Let's just pan up a wee bit here. Yeah, you got that right. 1994. This was the last vintage we brought in, and recently. These are library releases from the family's personal cellars, and as I said, it is a really cool way to explore old school middle Mosel Rieslings at very, very, very fair prices. We get a small amount of these wines in from time to time, but we've been running the Urziger Wurzgarten Auslese. We were on the 1994 vintage, probably about 2 or 3 different orders we ran with it, and did some replenishment with it. No longer available. You might find the odd bottle here and there around the province. This only went out to a few select private wine shops. It was never available at BCLDB stores. So just like I said, better restaurants and private wine shops brought these in. They're hand sells. Like I said, they're something that a lot of people don't have a chance to try, but they really are pieces of history because they're rare wines. They are very labor intensive to make wines this way. We'll get into that in a wee bit. I thought it would be appropriate. I hate doing the bait and switch. Well, you can't get this, but so I didn't have samples of the next vintage that's coming in. So the 1994 was the last vintage we had in. We're about to replenish probably in 2 weeks or so. The new vintage is coming in, and they're moving up to the 2002. So there you'd be, a young pup at 22 years old. So anyway, I just thought this would give you an idea of sort of maybe some of the house style and the like. So very, very cool wines. Like I said, kind of museum pieces here. Like I said, old school, middle Mosel, Rieslings, and like I said, for the price quality, they are off the charts. So yeah, keep your eyes posted. What can I tell you? Yeah, as I mentioned, this is a small family estate. It traces its history back in the Middle Mosel. We'll pull this up in a moment on the Google Earth map, but the winery itself traces its functional history going back to at least 1721. It's actually part of a monastery that was built over a vaulted cellar that dates back to 1100. So there you be. As mentioned, it's a family-owned winery. I believe one of the daughters was one of the Mosel wine princesses. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if I have this completely right, but I don't believe the kids are necessarily following in the family's footsteps. So we've been lucky enough to get access to some of these older vintages. They're not going to last forever, obviously. So we're going to grab what we can now and bring them to market here. As I say, they are incredibly well priced for what you're getting. The family is right in the heart of the village of Urzig, and they're farming 5.5 hectares. Like I said, everything is done by hand. The vineyards are extremely steep. These are some of the steepest vineyards in Germany, getting up to like a 65, 70 degree pitch. It's interesting too because Urzig itself is a very old school insofar as it's basically like not just sections of the vineyard, kind of runs the whole from down by the river all the way up to the top of the hill, and it's a unique area as well too, because a lot of the Middle Mosel, we've talked about it before. I'm just going to pull up my my prop here, but we talk about the soil in the Mosel. It's an ancient seabed, 400 million year old Devonian slate. Now, normally you would see this sort of blue-gray slate, but in Urzig, this is the Wurzgarten, the spice garden vineyard. And we'll pull it up on the Google Earth map. This is sort of on the west bank of the river. But the soil here is quite different because it is, it's mostly red slate and sandstone and volcanic soils as well up to the upper part of the vineyard. And the name Wurzgarten literally translates to spice garden. And you find that a lot of these wines have a bit of spiciness to them as well, and a lot of the old school growers used to actually grow herbs as well in the vineyard. So I don't know if that affected some of the telltale flavors that were going on. What else can I tell you? You know what? This may be a good time. I see a few people joining us. Let's flip the camera out really quickly and we'll pull our Google Earth map up here. So as mentioned today, we are trying the Horst Schwaab Kiebel. This is the Urziger Wurzgarten Auslese. This is from the last order we just got in, not last year. This is the 1994. Yeah. As mentioned, we're about to move on to the new vintage, which is 2002. As I say, a bit of an Alibaba's cave, so to speak, of cool old vintages. I love these old school labels with the vaulted cellar and the heraldry and the like. So the other thing I want to show you really quickly too is, let's flip the camera around really quickly. So here is the cork. You can see made a good seal, a little bit of seepage, but you can see on the very top, when I cut away the foil of the capsule, you're left with this. So it's a little bit musty, dusty. What I always recommend to people too is, flip the camera around once more. I just popped another cork in here really quickly, but when you cut away from the capsule, you're going to be left in here just with a little bit of sort of that scum. So please make sure that you wipe it out beforehand Then when you draw the cork out, make sure you get on the inside because you don't want to have any of that scummy residue being going into the wine as you're pouring it into the glass. So a small pro tip, I guess you'd say here. Let's get the bottle out of the shot here for a moment and pull up our Google Earth map, as it were. We are in southwest Germany. The Rhine River basically flows sort of across the middle here, and then starts to head up north. So basically we're going from Frankfurt and Mainz and Wiesbaden, and then we head north, and then here in Koblenz, this is where the Mosel River meets up with the Rhine. And then in between here, this is where the Mosel snakes its way down southwest between Koblenz and Trier. And for our purposes, we're here. We're just sort of on the west side here, very near that honking big bridge that was built a number of years ago. But basically, we're just here. Here's the village of Urzig. And down by the river is where the winery is located. And the hill here, this is the red Wurzgarten, and that leads as well, if you follow it a little bit further east, we're getting out of Urzig and we're getting into Erdener Pralat, Erdener Trepschen, the continuation of those red soils. So I'm just going to flip over really quickly. As I mentioned, very, very, very steep. Let me just pull some shots up. Whoops, you don't want that. Here we go. It's my cheat sheet and to the map, but check this out. This gives you an idea, just really, how steep these slopes are. It goes right down to the base of the river. And, as mentioned, this is red slate, but also, sandstone and volcanic as well. And you can see how much the iron content as well too in the soil as well. And a lot of the vines, the one thing about the sandy soil here is phylloxera really didn't take hold as much as it did in other areas. So there's a lot of old ungrafted vines, and that's what these are. You'll see a lot of these planted on a single stake as well. But just look how steep the those vineyards are. You cannot work that with anything mechanized. You can't get horses in there. This all has to be done by hand. So as I say, and they are some of the steepest slopes going. This gives you another shot here as well of some of the poles and how the vines are trained. But let's just pull back and we'll get our bottle back into shot. As mentioned, we're a couple of weeks away from the next vintage. This was the last order we got in, which was the 1994, which we got in last year. We had about 3 kicks at the can with that vintage. We did really, really, really well with it. Horst Schwaab Kiebel is using, he's environmentally conscious procedures. Everything's hand-picked, rigorous fruit selection as you'd expect, slow fermentation, and as you'd expect, old foeder barrels. 65% of their vines are on the original rootstock. As I mentioned before, Wurzgarten, the spice garden, is red slate on top of volcanic sandstone and high iron content. I mentioned before, vinification's carried out in traditional 1,000-liter foeder barrels. No fining, wild yeasts, and the focus, meticulous work in the vineyard, and the aim is to produce and bring home perfect fruit. What else can you say, right? Why don't we give the wine a try? I love these wines because they're totally an example of why I love good Mosel Riesling. Low alcohol, full flavor. This is an Auslese, so we have a quality wine mit Pratikat with special attributes. So it's an unsugared wine that is a late pick, so it goes beyond a Spätlese. This is late picked from selected bunches, which is an Auslese. This is 8% alcohol. I have no idea how much residual sugar is in this wine. Probably on the high side, I'd probably say somewhere in the neighborhood of 95 grams per liter residual sugar, something like that. Thing is, this wine now at 30 years old doesn't drink as sweet as you'd expect. I mean, yes, it is quite honeyed. This is definitely not a botrytis bomb by any means, but the wine tends to seem, to me at least, drink a little bit drier. It's more like an off-dry wine in a sense. If I partnered this wine with food as well too, that would also counterbalance the wine and perhaps dry it down as well. I like this wine on its own. I find this is more of a for myself. It's more of a contemplation wine. You can do with it as you please. I've heard some people say, it'll go with anything with like a rich sauce, like game or something with a rich sauce, or some people swear by something a little spicier as well too. I don't like anything with too strong a flavor myself. I keep it fairly neutral. I've mentioned it before. There's a little bit of a slightly oxidative note. My aunt used to make a rolled turkey galantine, stuffed turkey breast with spinach and pine nuts. Something like that I think would be lovely with a wine like this. But let's give the wine a try. Also, generally these are high acid wines, quite a bit of residual sugar. I wouldn't recommend serving it too cold. This is another wine I would pull out of the fridge a little bit before. I'd rather serve this wine cool, not cold, so you're not numbing the fruit and allowing the wine to develop. Check out the color on this wine. 30 years old. It's going to have some color to it. Look at that beautiful deep gold. Isn't that gorgeous? Burnished, but star bright and clear. I've had several bottles before, and it's always a bit of a crapshoot, especially when you get some of these older corks. This one, fortunately, made a really good seal. You have some that are a little bit more developed. This wine definitely, wow, this is so expressive already. This just leaps out of the glass. Typical, a lot of these wines from Urzig, the Spice Garden. We have access to a few growers from Urzig. We're doing Schwaab Kiebel, of course. We now have access to the wines also from Merkelbach, which the two brothers now, Selbach Winery has become the custodian of the Merkelbach wines. So we do have access to those wines as well from Urzig. But in the case of the wine that we're trying today, typical of Urzig, the Spice Garden vineyard, a lot of the wines there definitely take on spice, baking spice notes, but also more in the realm of citrus. You tend to pick up grapefruit flavors as well in some of the wines. It's interesting, compare-contrast. We're very close to Zeltingen, where our good friend Johannes Selbach is based. And wines from the middle Mosel through Grach and Valen and Bernkastel and Brandberg, pardon me, they often exhibit the red apple skin flavor. I find this definitely picks up a little bit more of that spice and citrus. So let's have a swirl and a sniff. Oh man, this thing just pours out of the glass, just wafts out of the glass. And I'm definitely picking up some of the baking spice notes. I still have a little bit of apple skin for sure. I'm definitely getting more almost like a cooked apple note to it as well too. But there's the citrus. Right up front, it's a bright citrus, almost like a white grapefruit. I noticed on that. Also picking up a little bit of, almost like a bit of a clove note on that one. Really interesting. Let's give the wine a try. There's the acidity kicking in. Wow. Beautiful, lively acidity. I love that wine because it has, up front, I taste the residual sugar right on the tip of my tongue. And then I'm picking up a little bit of, almost like a little bit of like a paraffin wax texture, but also almost like a little bit of, like a bit of a bitterness, like a quinine note, on that as well too. They were super, super interesting. I'm just going to have one more sip. Definitely picking up the honeyed characteristics. As I mentioned, this wine, not unctuously dessert sweet, more, I would say, medium sweet. 8% alcohol. Like I said, the sweetness hits you on the tip of the tongue, but wow, like I said, I'm still tasting it. I've already swallowed, but the aftertaste keeps going on. I'm getting it comes in waves across the middle palate. I'm still getting a lot of replays on that. Let me just try one more sip, if I may. Touch of petrol as well too, and I don't mean that in the bad sense. Not like from immature petrol from hot weather. And that's petrol from age, and it's proper because it's still balanced out by the fruit and the acidity. But like I say, really picks up a fair bit of viscosity, but it never becomes cloying. Like I said, the acidity kicks in on the finish and just really refreshes. Yeah, beautiful wine there. So as I mentioned, yeah, a bit of a time capsule. And we love bringing in the wines like this because who else brings these in? You know, it's fun. You can find these at retail they're not inexpensive, but they're not stupid expensive either. You'll get away, for generally, under $60 for something like this, but it's a piece of history. Where can you find stuff like this? Anyway, this is my last bottle of the Schwaab Kiebel Urziger Wurzgarten, the Spice Garden Auslese, late picked wine with special attributes from selected bunches, and this is the 1994 vintage. This was the last order we brought in last year, actually. This is a library release. So look for it in a couple of weeks. We'll be getting a reload of some more German wines, and we're moving on to the new vintage, the 2002 vintage. So, hey, 22-year-old wine. That's still pretty cool. It's a bit of an interesting time of year. We've come through the holidays. It's kind of a quiet time. A few people are still traveling on vacation. A few people getting ready for Dine Out Vancouver and the like. If you are a restaurant or a retailer, do not forget that if you're ordering restricted speculative products, we store our wines in the agent warehouse at Container World. They are doing an inventory count beginning on February 1st. So if you want to get anything out of the warehouse ahead of time, don't wait. Order your wine now. Otherwise, you risk getting caught up in that inventory count. I think they're closed from the first week of February or something like that too. So, note to self: order anything you need. Order it now to avoid delay. Few other things coming in stock right now. We just reloaded our de Champigny Crémant de Loire traditional method rosé brut. Traditional method sparkler based on Cabernet Franc, 18 months on the lease. It's not Cava, it's not Prosecco. It's half the price of non-vintage champagne, but it's made from Cabernet Franc. That's back in at BCLDB, $28.49 a bottle. Very cool wine. We're getting more German wines in. We got some more Bordeaux wines coming in. Yeah, lots of stuff about to arrive. Also, do not forget our Lopez de Heredia wines are just about to roll in any day now. We also just got our allocation from Mas Roish, the Red Farm Estate in Montsant, Holy Mountain region, just next door to Priorat in Catalonia. We just got in the new vintage of Solafred, 100% Samso. That's Carignan, boys and girls. And it's an unoaked take on that too. Perfect tapas pizza wine. 95 points decanter magazine. It's a spec product. So check that one out. Hey, if you're interested in anything, drop me a line. You can DM me here or shoot me an email at Christian@waldorfwine.com. That's Christian, Christian. What are we doing next week? I don't know. I'm going to have to go in the tickle trunk and dig around and see what we can find. But rest assured, it'll be cool. If you haven't done so already, I do invite you to follow us. We'd love to have you all join us here. So until next week, take care. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.